for the field.
Dr. Aisha Siddiqa, thank you very much for your analysis. Thank you. Now, the first all-private mission to the International Space Station has docked. The crew, consisting of a pilot and 3 passengers, have been welcomed inside the International Space Station. They are due to spend 8 days orbiting the Earth. The flight is being hailed as a milestone in the commercialisation of space flight. Well, to find out more about the implications of this latest privately funded mission and what it could mean for space exploration, let's go to Houston and speak to Dr. LEROY CHIAO. Welcome to you, Dr. CHIAO. Good to have you with us. You're a former NASA astronaut and ISS commander. You've clocked up yourself more than 230 days in space, so you're very experienced. Tell us about this being billed as a major step in commercial activities in space. Why is that?
This mission is a first in that it's the first all-commercial crew to fly to and dock to the International Space Station. This is something that has been coming for a while. NASA has been wanting it for many years, and now this is the beginning. NASA is looking, as you know, to decommission the International Space Station in 2030, and so between now and then, NASA would like commercial companies to build and operate space stations so that NASA can, in the future, lease space aboard these space stations, much as it is now leasing these missions aboard SpaceX spacecraft. So completely different change in model, if you will, of how operations will be conducted. So this is the beginning of the space station part of that.
The private individuals on board, though, while not being described as space tourists because they are going to be conducting experiments themselves, they have had to fork out $55 million, it's thought, each for a seat on board this shuttle. That's not within reach of many people, is it? So it's not. How sustainable kind of is this?
That's a very good question. There's always been a debate on how sustainable space tourism, if you will, is. And so, you can argue it one way or the other, but the bottom line is we'll have to wait and see. Yes, these people who have flown to the space station will be conducting some scientific research. It will be of limited value because they're only going to be up there for 8 days as opposed to 6 months, which is what a normal space station crew would be up there for. Also, it's hard to say that, they each paid, as you said, $55 million each in order to do this research. The fact is, of course, they really wanted to have this experience. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of the commercialization of space. But, we really should call it what it is.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you, as an astronaut yourself, who I imagine had to train for many, many years to achieve this extraordinary privilege, how does it make you feel to see people who have got the cash and can afford to just go up there with, I imagine, not nearly as much training as you had?
These folks did go through several months of training, so to their credit, it's not just a matter of buying a ticket and going, and so they had to learn about what we call nominal or normal operations, as well as some emergency procedures on how to take care of themselves if there were to be some kind of a mishap in space. Now, on the other hand, yes, of course, they're not professionals, except for Mike Lopez Alegria, who's actually a good friend of mine. He and I flew a space shuttle mission together some years ago. But the other folks, yeah, they are paying their way to go. They do get a significant amount of training, so they're not strictly speaking a tourist. But at the same time, they're kind of in the middle of what we call space flight participant, which I think is a good way to describe it.
How do you feel the other astronauts on board the International Space Station will feel about these new astronauts joining them? Do you think they'll feel like they're kind of having to babysit them?
Well, this is nothing new. Since International Space Station began operations, almost from the beginning, we had the first so-called space tourist or space flight participant in Dennis Tito, who used to be a NASA employee many, many years ago, and then actually left NASA and became quite wealthy and bought a seat to go fly with the Russians. And from that point on, in the early 2000s, we've seen a number of these space flight participants pay their way flying aboard Russian spacecraft to the ISS. This is the first non-Russian commercial flight, if you will, to take non-professionals to the ISS. So, the people on board, they're fine with it. This is part of the evolution. Government builds the infrastructure, and then commercial businesses kind of start taking that over.
OK, Dr. LEROY CHIAO, great to talk to you. Thank you.